LOS40.
Hi, Jamie, and welcome to LOS40 Classic.
Hi, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure having you, such a classic as you are, even though you are a young classic, talking about music and living legends that play your tunes. In the first place, I would like to ask you about how are you and how are you spending this so strange 2020?
You know, it's obviously been incredibly strange, full of a great deal of collective sadness and anxiety. So I felt a lot of that. But, you know, also, I guess I was supposed to be on tour for this year. And instead I was at home with my young family, which, you know, this was no hardship to be at home with them. It's a wonderful thing to have this time with them. So this was my silver lining. And I found myself in March and April writing Christmas songs as a sense of comfort. You know, it was a very cozy thing to do, writing Christmas songs amongst all the collective anxiety that was going around. I found it a very comforting thing to do. And I have been planning on making a Christmas album for some years, but I'd never kind of got around to it. And this year, well, I just started. I was inspired by Robbie Williams last year because I worked with him. He made a Christmas album and I worked with him and I really enjoyed that. That was inspiring. My wife has been telling me to make one for a long time, and it just kind of came together. And I tried to make something very kind of elegant and classic sounding, and hopefully a little bit original as well.
10 original songs that you made for this brand new album, The Pianoman at Christmas, with a touch of classic 50s and crooner. Is that the big band that used to have Ray Charles, or is just a type of big band like that?
Yeah, big band like that, really. So that kind of crossover between jazz, R&B, blues, and kind of just on the edge of early rock and roll, you know, where it's really just pushing into the edge, out the outskirts of jazz into early rock and roll on a couple of the tracks. And then others are very kind of influenced by that kind of classic Count Basie, Duke Ellington big band. And some are just kind of straight out kind of orchestra tracks in a very lush cinematic orchestra.
You also have a jazz radio show, the BBC Radio 2. Have you ever played Christmas jazz songs there in your radio show?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, when it comes around to Christmas, there is a great tradition of wonderful jazz Christmas music, from Louis Armstrong to Nat King Cole to Vince Guaraldi's music for the Charlie Brown Christmas special, Ray Charles, of course. You know, there's a great, you know, this is one of the things I love about Christmas music so much, is that there's a real strong correlation between the music, the jazz music that I love, and great Christmas music as well.
I feel like you do lots of tributes, as well as you are playing original songs in your last Christmas album. Like Nat King Cole, as you were talking about, you mentioned him in The Pianoman at Christmas, the song that titled the album.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel his voice or his way of singing is very different than yours.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we definitely have a different sounding voice. I mean, very few human beings on planet Earth could sound like Nat King Cole, because he's one of the great geniuses. But he has a honeyed, warm baritone that, to me, sounds like Christmas. You know, when he opens his mouth, even when he's not singing about Christmas, it feels like Christmas because it's so rich and so like a beautiful warm fire.
Which are your favorite Christmas songs?
Well, I think Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is one of my very favorites. It's a real classic Great American Songbook style song. I love Santa Claus is Coming to Town, played by Bill Evans. You know, it's funny because it's very easy to think of these songs as novelty songs, when a lot of these songs are written by some of the great classics of Great American Songbook writing, and they're structured just so perfectly. You know, they're real great lessons for songwriters, a lot of these songs, to take great economy and storytelling and memorable melodies.
Besides the influence from old jazz from the 50s, 60s, I feel like there's some British pop influence as well in a couple of songs in the middle of the album, like Turn on the Light, So
Yeah.
Many Santas, or the Pianoman at Christmas, that probably connects with the Beatles now that you were recording at the Abbey Road studios.
You're absolutely right. It's funny, every aspect of making a record influences the outcome of the record, and where you choose to record it, how you choose to record it, who you choose to record it with. And you go to a studio like Abbey Road Studio 2, and the studio itself becomes an instrument. Not every studio is like another instrument, but Abbey Road Studio 2 is. And somehow the song Turn on the Lights ended up with a little nod to Penny Lane by the Beatles in it, with the trumpets and stuff. And I love it when, personally, I really enjoy listening to music where you can trace all the dots through the history of music and through the musicians' influences and loves and interests. I try to extend this through to the music, through to the artwork. Everything about this record has been very carefully thought through and nodded to interesting influences.
How do you fly? That it feels like a little bit different from the others, like a magic touch. I don't know if it needs an extra explanation from you.
Sure. This is probably the song I'm closest to on the record, actually, because it's a song not just for Christmas. One of my favorite Christmas songs is Joni Mitchell's River. And this is a song you can listen to all year round, and hopefully How Do You Fly is similar. It's a song about the very tough period in your life where you are a child about to become an adult, and you realize that maybe many of the things that you were told are maybe not true, or the world is a much more frightening place than you were led to believe.
Do you think this Christmas is going to be different in some ways than the others?
I wouldn't know. I certainly have no more information than you do, so we will just have to see. I mean, my hope is that we can still be with our family, our extended families. That would feel like a great gift this year if we can be.
The last song of the album, because I was expecting a little more happy end. It feels like, I don't know if it's sad or just beautiful. How would you describe the last song of your record?
Both those things, and I'll tell you why. Because to ignore the fact that sadness exists at Christmas would be to make it less beautiful, because the fact is that everything casts a shadow, and Christmas casts a very deep shadow. It reminds us of people that we lost and loved and are missing from our lives. And my belief is that if you don't acknowledge all these things, then life is not truthful and thus less beautiful. So Christmas Caught Me Crying is one of the album's shadows, and it's important that it's there for me, and it's important that it's out there. So sad doesn't mean ugly. Pessimistic doesn't mean ugly. In fact, if anything, it just adds to the colors of the rainbow.
Do you always expect to be eternal in your compositions in any record, or especially in this one that sounds like more out of time or classic?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I never think about being eternal when I write anything, ever. When it comes out, I am anxious for my ego to be massaged, so people listen and go, "Oh, it's great and we love it," but this is not my expectation. With a Christmas record, it feels slightly different, because it feels like I made this record for 50 years' time. It feels like I made this for someone to take out of their record collection on December the 1st in 2042
Yeah.
and go, "Oh yeah, I love this one. I always used to listen to this one with my dad," or "I know this one. Oh, this reminds me of Christmas when blah, blah, blah." So this is the first time I've ever thought about trying to make something last for a long period of time.
I really love Hit the Road Jack from Ray Charles, and
Yeah.
I feel like you have the new and Christmas version of this spirit of party with a big band, like
Awesome.
it's Hang Your Lights. I really
Oh,
feel it's brilliant.
I'm so happy about that. Thank you. That's a great compliment you've just given me. Thank you.
Are you having some plans after, or well, during Christmas and afterwards?
I hope to play some concerts next year. It would be great. I hope to go to some concerts and see some live music next year. I miss the theatre and live concerts. So I really hope this collective experience can come back into our lives.
Now it comes to my mind the title of the song you did from Rihanna some years ago, "Don't Stop the Music."
Yeah, well, the music never stops. It's just we're consuming it in a different way right now. So it'll come back. There's no stopping the collective experiences like that.
Are you right now in your home studio or something like that?
Yeah, this is not at my house. This is where I come to make music. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So this is the place you were developing these 10 new songs?
Well, no, actually. Interestingly, I normally develop all my music here, but because we were locked down, I was in the house the whole time with my wife and my kids. So I have an upright piano in the house at home, and I wrote everything there with just a notebook and a pen and my phone recording some demos, but no technology, no other instruments, just the piano and voice and a notebook.
Now that you have an ID in your program from Clint Eastwood, I would like to have an ID in our radio station from Jamie Cullum, if possible.
My pleasure. Hola, this is Jamie Cullum. You are listening to LOS40 Classic.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas and
Feliz
lots of
Navidad. Thank you so much. Thanks for your kind words. See you soon.